Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, entitled Purusha Sukta Confirmed, Text 36. Text 36, Canto 2, Chapter 6. It's June 5th, 2020. Rainam Namaskritya Naram Chaivanavotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayana, to Narayana Rishi, the supremest human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavat Vitamashlake Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Text 36. Nata Asmi Aham Tat Charanam Samiyusham Bhavachidam Svasti Ayanam Sumangalam Ya Hi Atmamaya Vibhavam Sma Paryagat Yata Nabha Swaantam Ata Apare Kuta Natosmyaham Tatcharanam Samiyusham Bhavachidam Svast Yayanam Sumangalam Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Sma Paryagad Yatana Svantamata Parekuta Natosmyaham Tatsharanam Samiyusham Bhavachidam Svastyayanam Sumangalam Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Sma Paryagan Yatana Bhasvantamata Parekuta Natosmyaham Tatcharanam Samiyusham Bhavachidam Svastyayanam Sumangalam Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Sma Paryagad Yatana Bhasvantamata Parekuta
Natosmyaham Tatcharanam Samiyusham Bhavachidam Svastyayanam Sumangalam Yogi Atma Maya Vibhavam Sma Paryagad
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Sma Paryagad
Yatana Bhasvantam Ata Parekuta
Yatana Bhasvantamata Parekuta. Would anyone on internet like to recite the verse?
Natosmyaham Tascharanam Samiyusham
Natosmyaham Tacharanam Samiyusham
Bhavachidam Svastyayanam Sumangalam
Bhavachidam Bhavachidam Swasyayanam Sumangalam
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Smaparyagat
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Swaparyagat
Yata Navasvantamata Parigat Kutaha
Yata
Svantamata Parikuta
Natosmyaham tacharanam samiyusham
Natosmyaham tasharanam samiyusham
Bhavachidam swasthasyanam sumangalam
Bhavashidam swastyayanam sumangalam
Yo yadmamaya vibhavam smaparyagat
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Smaparyagat
Yata navasvantamata parekuta
Yata Navasvantamata Parikuta
Natosmyaham tacharanam sam
Natosmyaham tasharanam samiyusham
Bhavachidam Swasyayanam Samangalam
Bhavashidam swastyayanam sumangalam
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Swaparyagat
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Smaparyagat
Yatanava Swadamata Parikuta
Yata Navasvantamata Parikuta
Ooh, that's all cleaned up. Well, you
We will be cleaning.
yeah, good. I'll get out of the way. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to recite the verse?
Natosmyaham tacharanam samiyusam
Natosmyaham tacharanam samiyusham
Bhavachitam svastayanam sumangalam
Bhavachidam swastyayanam sumangalam
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Smaparyagat
Yo Yatmamaya Vibhavam Smaparyagad
Yata Navasvantamata Parakuta
Yatanavasvantamata parekuta Nata, let me offer my obeisances. Asmi, Am, Aham, I, Tat, the Lord's, Sharanam, feet, Samiyusham, of the surrendered soul, Bhavachidam, that which stops repetition of birth and death, Svasti Ayanam, perception of all happiness, Sumangalam, all auspicious, Ya, one who, He, exactly, Atmamaya, personal energies, Vibhavam, potency, Sma, certainly, Paryagat, cannot estimate, Yata, as much as, Nabha, the sky, Svaantam, its own limit, Atha, therefore, Apare, others, Kuta, how. Translation. Therefore it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma, the greatest of all learned living beings, the greatest sacrificer, the greatest observer of the austere life, and the greatest self-realized mystic, advises us as the supreme spiritual master of all living beings, that one should simply surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord in order to achieve all success, even up to the limit of being liberated from the miseries of material life and being endowed with all auspicious spiritual existence. Lord Brahma is known as the Pitamaha, or the Father's Father. A young man consults his experienced father about discharging his duties, so the father is naturally a good advisor. But Lord Brahma is the father of all fathers. He is the father of Manu, who is the father of mankind all over the universal planets. Therefore, the men of this insignificant planet should kindly accept the instruction of Brahmaji and would do well to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord rather than try to estimate the length and breadth of the Lord's potencies. His potencies are immeasurable as confirmed in the Vedas. Prasya Shaktir Vividaya Shruyate Swabhaviki Gena Balad Kriyacha. That's from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.8. He is the greatest of all, and all others, even the greatest of all living beings, namely Brahmaji, admits that the best thing for us is to surrender unto him. Therefore, only those persons with a very poor fund of knowledge claim that they themselves are lords of all that they survey. And what can they survey? They cannot even survey even the length and breadth of a small sky in one small universe. The so-called material scientist says that he would need to live 40,000 years to reach the highest planet of the universe, being carried by a Sputnik. This is also utopian, because no one can be expected to live 40,000 years. Besides, when the space pilot returned from his travel, none of his friends would be present to receive him back as the greatest astronaut, as has become fashionable for modern, bewildered scientific men. One scientific man who had no belief in God was very much enthusiastic in making plans for his material existence and therefore opened a hospital to save the living. But after opening the hospital, he himself died within 6 months. So one should not spoil his human life, which is obtained after many, many changes of bodies in 8,400,000 species of life, simply for the concocted material happiness of life through increasing artificial needs in the name of advancement of economic development and scientific knowledge. Rather, one should simply surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord to make a solution to all miseries of life. That is the instruction of Lord Krishna directly in the Bhagavad Gita, and that is the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam by Brahmaji, the Supreme Father of all living beings. Anyone denying this surrendering process is recommended both in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and for that matter, in all authorized scriptures, will be forced to surrender unto the laws of material nature. The living entity, by his constitutional position, is not independent. He must surrender either unto the Lord or unto material nature. Material nature is also not independent of the Lord, since the Lord himself has claimed material nature as Mama Maya, or my energy, Bhagavad Gita 7.14, and as Me Bina Prakritir Astada, or my separated energy in 8 divisions, Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Therefore, material nature is also controlled by the Lord, as he has claimed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti, Suyate Sacharacharam. Under my direction only is material nature working, and thus are all things moving, and the living entities, being superior energy to matter, have choice and discrimination, either to surrender unto the Lord or to surrender unto material nature. By surrendering unto the Lord, one is happy and liberated, but by surrendering unto material nature, the living entity suffers. So the end of all suffering means surrendering unto the Lord, because the surrendering process itself is Bhava Chidam, liberation from all material miseries, Svast Yayanam, perception of all happiness, and Sumangalam, the source of everything auspicious. Therefore, liberty Happiness and all good fortune can be attained only by surrendering unto the Lord, because he is full liberty, full happiness, and full auspiciousness. Such liberation and happiness are also unlimited, and they have been compared to the sky, although such liberation and happiness are infinitely greater than the sky. In our present position, we can simply understand the magnitude of greatness when it is compared to the sky. We fail to measure the sky, but the happiness and liberty obtained in association with the Lord are far greater than the sky. That spiritual happiness is so great that it cannot be measured even by the Lord himself, not to speak of others. It is said in the scriptures, Brahmasakyam Tvanantam, spiritual happiness is unlimited. Here it is said that even the Lord cannot measure such happiness. This does not mean that the Lord cannot measure it and is therefore imperfect in that sense. The actual position is that the Lord can measure it, but the happiness in the Lord is also identical with the Lord on account of absolute knowledge. So the happiness derived from the Lord may be measured by the Lord, but the happiness increases again, and the Lord measures it again, and then again the happiness increases more and more, and the Lord measures it more and more, and as such there is eternally a competition between increment and measurement, so much so that the competition is never stopped, but goes on unlimitedly ad infinitum. Spiritual happiness is anandam buddhi vardhanam, or the ocean of happiness which increases. The material ocean is stagnant, but the spiritual ocean is dynamic. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, 4th chapter, Kaviraj Goswami has very nicely described this dynamic increment of the ocean of spiritual happiness in the transcendental person of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganarajnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Vedan Sagna Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Tapta Kansana Garane Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatu Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Natosmyaham Tatcharanam Samyusham Bhavachidam Swas Yainam Sumangalam Yo Yat Mamaya Vibhavam Smaparyaga Yatana Pasvan Tamata Parekuta. Therefore it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? Hare Krishna. We can say that all of the Vedas, all of the Bhagavatam, it deals with three subjects. In Sanskrit, they're called Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. I mean, there's other ways to categorize it. Like in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada describes 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara, or the Supreme, Jiva, the spirit soul, Prakriti, material energy, Karma, activity, chain of reaction, action and reaction, and time, kala. And we can also conceive it in terms of Sambandha, which means our essential, our ontological position, the essential, like we see the English word to bond in Sambandha, our essential relationship with the Supreme. The Jiva's relationship with Ishvara, that's Sambandha. And then Abhidheya means the activities that naturally flow from that relationship. So all the Vedas, all the Bhagavatams about that, Abhidheya. This verse, it's especially focusing on Abhidheya, the surrender. Okay, so understanding my Sambandha as a Jiva soul in connection with the Lord, Jivara Srupoi Krishnara Nichidas, Krishnara Tatasta Shakti, Beta Prakash. Understanding my nature, what do? I surrender and engage in service. So Abhidheya is those service activities. Devotional service means we engage our senses for pleasing Krishna. That's bhakti. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatrat vena nimalam rishi kena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. So to give up all material designations and engage the senses in the servant of Rishikesh, the master of the senses. That's the definition of bhakti. That's the definition of devotional service. And then Prayojana is the result of those activities. So this verse, we got, well, Sambandha is kind of assumed from the previous verses and from Bhagavad Gita. All of the books Prabhupada gave us includes lots. Each one includes Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. Sambandha, the essential connection. Abhidheya, the activities that naturally flow from that connection. And Prayojana, the results. Like some of the results are liberation from the miseries of material existence. Material life is temporary and inherently full of miseries. All auspicious, perceiving all bliss, all ever-expanding bliss and happiness. Right? So this is the Prayojana. Prayojana actually is defined as necessity. So what's our necessities? Well, food, water, sex, sleep. No. None of them, they are bodily necessities. None of those are Prayojana for the soul. What's the soul's necessity? The soul's highest necessity is unending, as Prabhupada quotes here, ever expansive spiritual bliss, love of God, prema pumarto mahan, the highest goal above religiousness or fulfillment of kama, lust, or economic development. These are necessities at different dimensions of existence. The highest necessity, Prayojana, is that bliss, that love of God, that Brahma is speaking about here. Perceiving all bliss, all happiness, like that. So the Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana, it's I'm going to say it's the original be, do, have. It's the original be, do, have. Being a spirit soul. Now, again, in all the literatures, we've got Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. Still, we might say that Bhagavad Gita especially focuses on Sambandha, the essential connection. Well, first of all, realizing that we are not matter, and the essential connection between spirit soul and Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, and Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, the source of Paramatma. And then the doing, and then Srimad Bhagavatam contains all of it, and it especially focuses on Abhidheya, different rasas, the different relationships that flow from the Sambandha, that flow from the being. And Chaitanya Charitamrita includes all of it, Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. And we might say it especially focuses on the Prayojana, the results of those surrendered activities in devotional service to Krishna. Okay, so, yes, so Brahma is saying that understanding his position and our position, this is the best course of activities, this surrender to, because Brahma, as Narayan was describing on Tuesday, right? Like there's so many, brilliant engineers and minds and scientific minds in this universe, and Brahma is just like trillions and quadrillions of times beyond them in intelligence. And Brahma's saying, like, I don't even get a drop of Krishna's intelligence. I can't even approach it. So just like, yeah. So the way things, because we can say, like, Prabhupada references this verse from Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti, Sriyate Sacharatram, Hetunanena Kante, Jagat Viparivartate. Krishna says, everything's gone on, nature's gone on according to my direction. And it's just like, it goes on so smoothly that we think, it's just nature. But just like, okay, whatever, we got this sophisticated thing, it's this laptop computer, and there's a Zoom, and then there's this special video that Dominique arranged, and there's like that. So I can say, it's just gone on. It's just like the nature of the thing. It's just gone on. Okay, it's not just gone on. No, there's no, I don't understand the details of it. Well, but like, I guess there's something in there called a motherboard, whatever that is, or central processing unit, and there's all sorts of circuitry, and there's a whole computer language, binary or PLC. I learned something about these things literally like 50 years ago or something. I'm not completely up to date. So anyhow, there's quite a sophisticated arrangement involving a lot of intelligence. So similarly, we could say, well, yeah, there's a seed, and then it grows into this magnolia tree. It's just nature. Oh no, there's sophisticated intelligence behind that nature, far beyond the intelligence of this whole Zoom contraption, which is pretty impressive as far as my brain is concerned. Yeah. So that's important to get. And so, so there's so much in this purport, and this is certainly a purport we could take at least 2 or 3 days. Prabhupada talks about how Srila Bhakti, his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, gave class on the first verse of Bhagavatam every day for 1 month. So and Prabhupada says every verse in Bhagavatam, we could do that. So we'll just touch on whatever we touch on here. Okay. So Prabhupada makes the choice. He says, like, we're going to surrender. And our choice is, are we going to surrender to Krishna through his internal energy? Internal energy means the process of bhakti. Are we going to surrender to, well, we've been using this term a lot, to the material context, the human context, to the material illusion, and try to get enjoyment there? That's our choice. And we'll get different prayojana. We endeavor to enjoy through tinkering with, fixing, trying to control. Ishvara Vaham Mahabhogi Siroham Balavansuki. That's a verse from Bhagavad Gita that says it's the mentality. I am the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'm perfect, I'm powerful, I'm happy. Okay, so we try to be the controller and enjoyer. And then the result is suffering and torment, it's so much misery. And even if there's enjoyment, because there's happiness and distress, in the material context. And spiritual intelligence means getting, it's all distress. No, it's happy. The stock market's doing well. They found a vaccine. No, it's all distress. It's Dvaita Vajrabhajagana Sabomano. Lord Chaitanya says, material happiness and distress, good, bad. He said, it's all a mistaken conception. Just like if we're in a dream, and we have something, I had a bad dream because there was a monster chasing me. I had a good dream. I was a king enjoying in the palace. I was flying like a bird. Okay, so it's good dream, bad dream. But actually, no, look, it's good dream, bad dream. I'm just lying on the bed horizontal in complete ignorance. There's no real enjoyment there. No, I was this bird. No, you're not, that's just a mental concoction. That I was running from the monster. No, that was just a mental concoction. There's no real enjoyment in mental concoction. To use a very similar, practically the same example, but maybe more modernized in a sense. And we gave a class at Dominique's and Gaetano's, I think it was in 2015, Maya, the ultimate virtual reality. Right? So you have these virtual reality machines and you hook up all your sentences. I've never done one, but it's the same, like we used to do pinball or something. But the idea is you get into a machine reality. And it's like, oh yeah, my character is doing good. My character is doing bad. There's no real enjoyment there, right? Because it's all filtered. It's mediated through the illusion that I'm this character. So similarly, that's our reality. The illusion that I'm this David Wolf character, the illusion like that. And so real enjoyment is the soul awakening to its original senses and enjoying spiritual bliss, spiritual vision, spiritual hearing, not filtered, not mediated through the dream reality of material life. And our soul senses awaken, the soul's mind, the soul's intelligence through serving Krishna with love and devotion. He said, well, love and devotion, that sounds pretty far. So maybe that's not like grounded meeting myself or ourselves where we're at. But the idea is, like, there's this very important verse in Bhagavad Gita. Tadviti pranipatena paripashnena sevaya upatekshanti teginam gyaninas tattvadarshina. Krishna says to Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Okay, so the idea is that, yeah, I'm not experiencing that love or devotion or whatever, but I kind of get, I get that, like, yeah, this is actually, if I really want to be happy, of course, in a very advanced stage, the devotee doesn't even want to be happy, doesn't even want relief from material suffering, just wants Krishna to be pleased. That's very advanced, but look, yeah, I do want relief from material suffering. I do want relief from material suffering. It's miserable here. And to get that, because even in practicing devotional, in endeavoring to practice devotional service, you may think, oh, I'm not happy. And I mean, my experience, I can, with 40 years or so of experience, I can say at this point, in practicing devotional service, practicing bhakti, I am always happy, peaceful, fulfilled, satisfied. Okay. So you're saying, David Wolf, Dhira Govinda, I'm usually tormented and foolish and experiencing envy, jealousy, resentment, and petty anxieties. And I do make the distinction that that's all about me deviating from the process of devotional service, and then I'm miserable and in anxiety and fear, lust, and anger, and like that. And whenever I have those moments, like for most of the time of morning program, 5 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Yeah, I'm happy, satisfied, blissful, experiencing transcendence, experiencing some glimpses of real Prayojana. And then because like we kind of mix, there's in the second edition of the biography written by Shyama Sundar Das Prabhu, his biography is called Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. And in the second volume. So he was the personal servant of Prabhupada, personal servant, secretary for some time, 2 years or some significant time. And at one point they were in California, which is his home state. And there's a lot of pressure to the service, and he was experiencing lots of pressure, this and that. And he was really thinking to leave the service and, like that. And he was, okay. Actually, he would say, he said, look, like even when he would make mistakes, Prabhupada, this is Shyama Sundar would say, Prabhupada knew that he couldn't take chastisement well. So Prabhupada would be very loving, gentle, forgiving. And you could see with other disciples, Prabhupada was sometimes being real heavy. And Prabhupada knew that that's what they needed. But Shyama Sundar, he said, Prabhupada knew I was too fragile. Anyhow, he asked Prabhupada for like a day off or a half day off. He said, Prabhupada, I just need some space, whatever. And so Prabhupada said, okay, sure. And so he took a few hours and he went to the beach. He just needed to unwind because he was really having doubts and this such a pressured life and like that. And then he was at the beach in Los Angeles. And anyhow, so then he ran into a friend from high school, a girl from high school. And high school wasn't too far. It was only maybe 8 years previous or something. This was maybe 1972. He came to the movement in 1967. And he was maybe about 20 years old when he came to the movement. Anyhow, he ran into a friend from high school, and she was with another girl. There they are on the beach. And she looked like she had it together. So they started talking, give each other an embrace. Oh yeah, listen that. And then in 3 minutes, she was friendly, and she wanted some, she asked if she could have some money because she needed to satisfy her heroin addiction, and then she was living in all sorts of externally her life looked nice, but she had this just most miserable existence. And Shyama Sundar was saying clearly Krishna sent her and her friend, and then he understood oh my God, I've got the most fortunate life. He wasn't appreciating, he was right there serving Prabhupada and like that. But there was anxieties and there was parts of him that weren't surrendered. And then he just, with full enthusiasm, he went back to his service as Prabhupada's secretary and servant. So we can think, well, that's how Maya, that's what Maya says. It's just you got better things to do than spend 2 hours a day chanting Hare Krishna. There's so many things that'll make you more happy. Bhagavatam, what about this novel? What about that? Let's go to the movies. And then there we go. And then, okay. And then it's described. There's 4 levels or 4 classes of learners. Okay, maybe some of you are familiar with this, or all of you. So the first class learner is, I hear it, I get it. A basic example Prabhupada uses, I hear that stealing isn't good. It's not moral, it's not ethical, and it'll get me into trouble. Got it. I'm not going to steal. Okay, that's first class learner, by hearing. Second class learner, stealing's not good. Just it's a lose-lose all around. I'm not sure, but then he sees, oh, here's a friend of mine who stole. he's in prison now, and now he needs to create a whole web of lies to cover his lies, and yeah, I get it. Not going to steal. Third class learner. Okay, yeah, I hear stealing's not good, but I think for me it could be good. Okay, here's a few people they stole, and they're not doing real well with that. They're not doing real well with that, but I'm smarter than them. I'm going to get away with it. I'm just going to have an extra $100,000 in the bank. I'm going to have all the toys I want. Okay, so that's third class learner. And then fourth class learner, that like hearing, I don't get it. I see others get trapped in suffering. I don't get it. I do it. And okay, maybe I'll go to prison, suffer. Third class learner, get it, not going to do it again. Fourth class learner, get out of prison, steal again. No, I'll try. I have a more clever way. Steal again. Fourth class learner just doesn't get it, even after getting into trouble. So in certainly in important respects, in terms of my relationship with material energy in this verse, I'm definitely the fourth class learner, because like I have like, it's not an exaggeration. I have more than like 10 million experiences that trying to surrender to the material energy, trying to enjoy the material energy without surrendering to Krishna through pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, it causes me misery. I just have like abundant experience each day of that. But I'm pretty sure today I'll try the same thing, hoping for a different result. Okay, so that's why Prabhupada, he'll emphasize, like, we're not this body. We're servants of Krishna, we're eternal spirits, so he'll say it again and again, for us to maybe move from fourth class learning to third class learning. So that even it's like, okay, let me endeavor for bhakti. Yes, I want to make that my path. I don't have that love. I don't have these experiences that Brahma's talking about. But this is the path I want. Let me let me endeavor on this path. And that's also bhakti. That's also bhakti. And then we engage in sadhana. Sadhana means regulated practice, patient, regulated practice. And even when I'm not feeling the warm, fuzzy feelings or whatever, but I get with my intelligence, this is just like the best path for my own happiness. I don't want to go for an 11 millionth time and like go to the movie again. I mean, movie is just a symbolic generalization for we can all fill in the blank, right? I go there again and maybe get some temporary gratification and titillation and stimulation, and then suffer misery the next hour or the next day. No, let me do it Lord Brahma's way. And so getting the higher taste, that's essential. And hearing and the whole experience of material creation and the misery and the suffering, it's meant to turn us towards the Abhidheya of this verse, towards the surrendered activity and devotional service of this verse. A metaphor we use a lot in the courses, we get it from Srila Prabhupada, just like the kitten in the jaws of the cat. The jaws of the cat represent death. And the kitten in the jaws of the cat experiences death as well as all aspects of the human context, old age, disease, cheating. The kitten experiences as warm, sheltering, that this is my vehicle towards that eternally liberated, blissful life. And that's quite a different paradigm, quite a different perspective. The experience of the rat in the jaws of the cat. Right? So the rat represents one who is not giving their life to this surrendered devotional service, to true self-realization. So then death, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And the kitten represents one who's following in the line of Brahma And these realized devotees, etamsa astaya paratmanishtam yasitam yasitam pravatamer mahadbir aham tarishyasi durantaparam tamo mukundangri nisheva yaiva. And that's from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's the Avanti Brahman. He says, I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of material existence by full surrender at the lotus feet of the super soul, the Lord, Sri Krishna. This path is approved by all the previous acharyas, starting from Lord Brahma, who were all fixed in the devotional service of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. And same purport as this verse. And so we can get inspired by hearing about the blissful result of devotional service. We can get inspired by hearing and experiencing that material life, it's a terrible place. It's described. But the Vaishnava poet describes, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gunainu Manushya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabhajiya Janiya Sunya Bisha Kainu. The Vaishnava poet sings and prays. I've gotten this human birth and I've wasted it, I've squandered it by not worshiping Radha and Krishna, by not serving Radha and Krishna with sincerity. It's like it's like I am knowingly drinking poison. I'm knowingly drinking poison by neglecting that. Samsara Davan Halalita Loka Trinaya Karinyaganaganath from Bhaktasa Kali Nagana Navasya Bande Guru Shri Charanara Vinda. We sing that every morning. This material existence is like a blazing forest fire. Imagine being trapped in a blazing forest fire. Wherever we go, flames all around. And these analogies don't do justice to the actual tragedy of material existence. But and the spiritual master is like a rain cloud. The mercy of the spiritual master is like a rain cloud that pours down rain and extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. Prahlad Maharaj describes that until he met Narada Muni and started serving Narada Muni, it's like he had fallen into a pit of poisonous snakes. Poisonous or not poisonous, we don't want to be there. So whether it's about the misery of material existence, keeping in mind that the function of Maya is that as we're like a pig in stool and mud and just eating any slop, we can say, oh, that's a miserable existence, but the pig looks pretty happy. So to get like, I'm that pig. Okay. So whether it's about getting the misery and like, I want something different, or simply being attracted to the beauty of Krishna and the bliss that Lord Brahma is. They're both designed to move us to our original Sambandha and Abhidheya. So the verse reads, Natosmyaham tacharanam samyusham bhavachidam swastyayanam sumangalam yoyat mamaya vibhavam smapayagad yatanabhasvantamata parekuta. Therefore it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening. Daru Brahma, I see your hand is up. Electronic raised hand.
Yeah. I just, sorry to bother you, but all the other times I've ever listened, I've had no problem. And today I'm having a real problem hearing you. And I'm just wondering if it's maybe from your side, because I can't make it louder here. Is anyone else having problems with you, Sam? I wonder.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. I'm hearing you're having difficulty hearing. Are others hearing? Are others hearing me today? Okay, all right. It seems there might be a problem with your system, Dharma.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. All right. I'm not necessarily able to see whose hand.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I
Uh,
have a question and comment.
Yeah, Narayan, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the class. I really, I feel enlivened by it. I especially felt seen and in the metaphor of being in these dreams, good or bad, and then just realizing that I'm just horizontal in bed the whole time. What's really the difference? And just seeing that like really viscerally in my life. And one thing I'm curious if you could elaborate on the distinction between the Sambandha relationship between us and God as Bhagavan, as like personality with senses, the supreme personality of Godhead, versus God as Brahman, like the undifferentiated, all-pervasive divinity, and the distinction in that experience in relation to like surrender and why it's different, if and how it's different.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. I don't know that I have much realization related to your question. What comes to me is that we are Brahman. We are Brahman, and so we are spirit soul. We're not matter. We are Brahman, and but then as far as Abhidheya activities, there are no activities in Brahman. For those who see Brahman as the ultimate, all activity is illusion. All activity is illusion. So there is no Abhidheya, or there could be the illusion of Abhidheya. But in bhakti, that Brahman realization is wonderful. It gives so much more happiness, or at least relief from misery compared to attempts at material enjoyment. At the same time, it's not completely satisfying because our nature is Abhidheya. Our nature is to relate and have relationships and act. And sure, spiritual life means we liberate ourselves, rise above material relations. But then devotional service is about revealing, uncovering, manifesting our spiritual relations with each other, means with Krishna in the center, serving Krishna in the center, and with Krishna directly. And the Prayojana, the bliss that comes from that is described as, again, like millions of times greater than the bliss of simply Brahman realization. So with Brahman realization that kind of stops there is no Abhidheya. There is no activity, there's no relationship. Or those philosophers will say any activity or relationship is illusion. It is illusion. And that's why there's that verse I know you're familiar with from the Bhagavatam, Yene Ravindaksha Vimukti Maninas Tvayasta Bhavad Alishuddha Buddhayo. Aruya Kritrina Prampadam Tata Patanti Nona Dvishta Yushmadangraya. Because the nature of the soul is to relate and act. And so even if the soul is liberated from material actions and relations, but if the intelligence isn't quite pure enough to surrender to Krishna, then at some point such a liberated spirit soul comes back into the material realm. And so there is a Prayojana in Brahman realization, and the Prayojana, there's a relief, a liberation of the soul being liberated from matter. So those are a few concepts that come to mind.
Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Related to this question, the thoughts I had were that Abhidheya, can the Abhidheya for the Brahman, the Brahman Prayojana, the Abhidheya, there is a specific process that somebody who is not on that level need to engage in order to actually get to that platform, because it's not an automatic thing either.
Yes.
Just curious in that realm of like in between.
Yeah, thanks for that. There's a particular sadhana, and that's I appreciate with that perspective. It sounds to me consistent with Prabhupada's teachings. Krishna in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he talks about that abhideya, that sadhana, and he says, "Kleshodi kataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukam dehadvad bira vapyate." Krishna says, yeah, you can do that sadhana, and it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Thanks for that, Rukmini. Thank you. Bhakti Keith.
I'm okay. I don't think I'm going to be able to formulate it into a coherent enough question. Oh, maybe I'll try. So I guess that's where when we think that we're the controller, with the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, that's where Paramatma steps in the material world. Paramatma steps in as the controller. I think that I'm the controller, and I'm confusing myself as being the Paramatma in that sense, and that's where that rift, that disconnection from myself happens. My eternal position as a soul, my Abhidheya, to connect to my own action is devotional service, and that's the difference between the material consciousness and spiritual consciousness in that connection.
Yeah, I like that dimension you bring to the discussion. Yeah, we think we're the super soul. It means I think I'm the controller and enjoyer of the material energy. But as soon as we have that desire, I want to try to enjoy and control the material context, then super soul's the supreme facilitator. Of course, super soul is also Ekaleshwara Krishna Arasabhabricha. Super soul is also a servant of Krishna. But within the material context, super soul is supreme. So we have material desires. Super soul will facilitate through material energy. Super soul is always wanting, it is always giving us messages, turn to Krishna, turn to Krishna, turn to me, with devotion. And if we do that, then super soul facilitates our devotional desire through the spiritual energy. So yeah, I like how you say that we think we're the super soul. Upadrashtanamanta Jabarta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramat Meti Chapyuto Desmin Pusha Pura. That Krishna in the form of super soul is overseer and permitter. And we think, I'm the overseer, I'm the permitter. And that's our illusion. Thanks for that. Narayan.
Yeah, that really helped something click for me in Bhakti Keith saying, like, thinking that we are the super soul, like that distinction between who I am as, that irreducible quanta of consciousness, and that there is a distinct, eternally distinct consciousness behind that, and that I'm not that. I'm like that, but I'm not that. That's like so challenging for me to get, and that's what I've experienced a lot in meeting a lot of people that identify more with Brahman or an impersonal or formless aspect of divinity and God, is more that view that like we are all super soul. And that, yeah, just using those words kind of helps me understand that, and the distinction between being like Atma and Jiva, and then like Paramatma, supreme soul, super soul, and that always being distinct, that Krishna is always connected with us, but independent and unique, and we're all unique eternally. And for me, and I've mentioned this to you, for me, the challenge is in like in experiencing my experience in Sabbatical-like processes, or in Vipassana meditation and other types of meditation I've done, in just really identifying with myself as witness, myself as the experiencer of my thoughts, feelings, sensations. Like, because I haven't, I wouldn't say I haven't experienced anything beyond that. Like, I have experienced some like understanding that there's something, someone, some intelligence beyond that. But I see a lot of my doubts around like supreme personality or something is because that's as far as I've gone, is just like, okay, I'm not my senses, and I'm not these stories and these objects. But like, then the stretch is like, oh, and there's a supreme.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing your process. Yeah, I'm very enlivened by this discussion. Yeah, because it's about distinctions. First, the distinction between matter and spirit, self and body, soul and body, and like things like I am experiencing. That's intended to move us to realization of who we are as the experiencer, the observer. And because I'm not the experience, I'm not the finger, I'm not the fear, I'm the experiencer of the fear. Okay, so that's a distinction. And then the distinction, through your question, Bhakti Keith sharing this discussion between the self and the super self. That's so much described. Bhakti Keith and I were talking the other day about Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 35. And that verse, and it's a rather lengthy purport, Prabhupada really goes into giving us guidance on how we can realize the distinction between the soul and the Paramatma, the super soul. Right, okay. And then a further distinction is the super soul, Paramatma, from Bhagavan. And for that distinction, mainly it's about like, we get that as we follow Lord Brahma in surrendered bhakti. I guess Narayan, I'm not so much believing you don't have Bhagavan realization. Maybe you're not steadily there, but like in hearing you lead kirtan, not believing that you don't have Bhagavan realization, just sharing my feedback for whatever it's worth. And then at the same time, to be steadily there, that means that we're, steady in our sadhana, month after month, year after year. Bhakti mam abhijanati avinyash tasmi tatvatam tottamam tatapatogyatva vishate tadanantaram. We're steady in bhakti, and then gradually the unwanted gunk in our heart disappears, and we have more and more direct Bhagavan realization, steadily.
I appreciate this conversation because often in Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada's like bring home again and again the difference between Atma and Paramatma, and we are Atma and we are not Paramatma. And often when I read those purports, I say, why? Why is he emphasizing that so much? It's obvious, like maybe on the surface level, it's obvious there is Atma, Paramatma. And I've been asking myself the question, why is it that Srila Prabhupada brings that home so many times in his purport? But in this discussion with like Narayan sharing and his sharing, I'm realizing that so much we want to take credit. We so much want to be we want to take credit for things that really we have no credit to take from. And now, if I don't make those distinctions, then I can't think I'm God. Look, I have so much intuition, or so much intelligence, or so much inner vision of whatever. And then that is going to lead us to pride. And then that pride is going to get in the way of our bhakti. And so with making that distinction, then with humility, we can detach ourselves. And then when you know, like we have less chance to identify with the voice of Paramatma because it's a voice. It's a voice of our intuition, like the director of the intelligence is Paramatma. So, and then it will lead to humility, and that humility led to bhakti. And I can, through our conversation today, I realize how important it is and why Srila Prabhupada bring it home. Because it's so easy to think like that voice of the Paramatma is me. And if that's me, I'm so great and I have so much ideas and so much opinions and so much intuition and so much insight about whatever, like that. So I appreciate the conversation today.
Thank you, Malini. I'm very inspired how this conversation is opening up realms of realization for you about such a major important aspect of Prabhupada's teachings that he goes to hundreds and thousands of times, and this is opening a door to what Prabhupada's doing there and why he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to Ramachandra.
Hey, Hare Krishna. Yeah, what kind of stood up for me, like when you were describing how Krishna makes a miserable arrangement for us in the material world, so we're gonna learn our lesson in a sense.
Yeah, right.
And in the same time, when I was hearing that, in connection to yesterday's session we had around Venu, because the next story is Maharaj Prithu, right? And Maharaj Prithu, he's like fighting, in a sense, Krishna, allowing him to enjoy the material world. And perhaps there are more examples like that, but I was wondering what Krishna is trying to teach us there by showing that a devotee, he allows a devotee, or he forced Maharaj Prithu to go and enjoy opulence, enjoy all those different things.
Yeah.
Seems to me like a bit contradictory.
Okay. Yeah, you're referring to a fourth canto pastime. It's pretty much the same idea at the beginning of the fifth canto with Maharaj Priyavrata. Mm. Maharaj Priyavrata, he didn't want to enjoy the material world. He was in a mountain cave somewhere. But Brahma, Narada Muni, both of the personalities in this verse, they came to go, no, your job is to be emperor. You need to enjoy palaces and have wives and things like that. And he was like, no, I don't want like a treasure. I just want to chant Hare Krishna here in the forest. And so that's, it's kind of like a different, because Krishna, Brahma, Narada, they know that this is your service. This is your service to be a ghost in a Nandi, not just a not a bhajan Nandi. I don't want to say just a bhajan Nandi, because those who are genuine bhajan Nandis, there's nothing minimized about it. But this is your service, and you have the consciousness. You're humble, but you have the consciousness where you could be so-called enjoying in your job, in being an emperor. You're going to do it in such a way, and you're going to remember Krishna, and you're going to give people Krishna consciousness, billions of people. So they were convincing in both of those instances. That's your service to get in the world and deal with money and deal with relationships. That's your service, and just trust you're connected with the super soul and with Sri Bhagavan so profoundly. You're not going to be bewildered.
Krishna asks that in that dynamic to tolerate material happiness, would you say, in a sense?
Yeah, Tam's titikshasva bharata. Yeah. We can think of tolerate material discomfort, but yeah, tolerate all those material comforts and luxuries, tolerate them, and just continue on in smaranam and remembering Krishna and serving Krishna. So for some devotees, that's their process.
I remember Atmananda Prabhu once in our natural devotion reading, he shared something really moving, that connection that harder than tolerating miseries is actually tolerate happiness. Maybe that somehow relates.
It does relate, because there's one thing, like when things are so-called bad, when we're having a bad dream, I want to wake up. Or if we're having a good dream, yeah, let's just stay in this dream. So when the material world is good, that's probably more dangerous for many of us. That's an important point.
Thank you.
Keith.
Just back onto that line of thought that we're following. I guess in regards to meeting us where we're at, and also not having high expectations of ourselves, too high of expectations. So I was thinking, like with that neophyte, madhyam, uttama, so that I guess predominantly in the neophyte stage, it's you're cultivating Brahman realization. And madhyam, it's Paramatma, and then uttama, that would be Bhagavan realization. And I guess like when you're getting some even in neophyte, you're getting some speck of.
And you get some taste.
Yeah, some speck of Bhagavan, and
Yeah.
then that just becomes more, and then so then I guess it's just to accept the fact, like, okay, yes, I don't have that much of a realization of Bhagavan, or I don't have that type of, I can't connect to these verses that much, or that because this is just where I'm at. I have these certain struggles because this is where I'm at, you know, and it's just part of that process.
Thanks for that. Yeah, okay. I appreciate that comment there. That so because things are not linear, especially in the process we get from Lord Chaitanya, Kali Yuga, coming from Prabhupada. Speaking for myself, maybe for many or most here, we can say like, well, yeah, I'm not even a neophyte. I haven't realized I'm not my body and I'm spirit soul. And we can all probably see truth in that. Like, yeah, like what's big about? And at the same time, everyone here is Bhagavan realized. And that's the highest state of absolute. Everyone here is giving like an hour and a half of time to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Everyone here is chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Japa. That's Bhagavan realization. So it's not linear. I haven't even achieved Brahman realization. I'm far from Brahman realization. I'm just meditating on eating too much and sleeping too much. I'm far from Brahman realization. And that could all be true. And simultaneously, everyone here is Bhagavan realized. So it's not a linear thing. Maybe in previous ages, it was more linear. Now it's just like wherever we're at, we're getting this process for Bhagavan realization. And just by touching the process, we get at least some Bhagavan realization. That's an important point. Thank you, Bhakti Keith. Eze.
Something that clicked for me is when you were talking about super soul always whispering, surrender to Krishna, surrender to me, and then how we don't do that. And I had this like frustration, like, well, if super soul is always whispering, then why, kind of like my similar process, then why isn't it easier for me to have more realization if I am whatever dedicating all this time? And then something in the way that you said it helped me to see it's really proportional to my level of sincerity. Like I could be doing these things and like I can see in myself, I only want as much realization as like enough to alleviate my distress or to get more of what I want so that I can enjoy material life more. Like I sincerely don't want to have such realization that I would give up my desires. And so I really appreciate the way that you shared this leading to this realization.
Thank you, Bhakteze. I appreciate your realizations and your truthful introspection. There's a verse in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna talks just about what you just said. Krishna says, Machita sarvadurgani mat prasada tarishasi, atachat svamahankaram nashoshasi vinakshasi. So Krishna tells Arjuna, he goes, if you listen to the super soul's guidance, then you'll easily cross over the material miseries and experience this blissful prayojana. And Krishna says, and if you disregard super soul, which is our choice at every moment, disregard super soul and listen to your material, attach it from and listen to your material ego, then you'll experience one misery and disturbance after the next. So yeah, so that's, super souls reciprocating with our sincerity, and super souls giving us good guidance, wanting to give us truly, absolutely good guidance. And our tendency in material conditioned life is to put a wall in between, to make that static, and to listen to our material mind. And that's our choice at each moment. Thank you, Eze. Dominique.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. So, is intuition and intelligence thoroughly supplied by Krishna or Paramatma?
Yes, yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Krishna is the source of everything. Now, there's material intuition and material intelligence, and spiritual intuition and spiritual intelligence, and it all comes from Krishna, either through Krishna's internal energy or his external material energy. It all comes from Krishna. And so the word intuition is an interesting study if we look at how Prabhupada uses it. And sometimes he'll use it the way we use instinct. He'll talk about, and in any species, when a baby is born, the baby immediately knows where to go for mother's milk. And Prabhupada will call that intuition or instinct. Okay, and so it all comes from Krishna, and Krishna is reciprocating with our desires. And we have spiritual desires for devotion or at least liberation, then Krishna will give us an intuition and intelligence to fulfill those desires. And we have material desires for expanding my sense gratification and my position in the world materially, and to enjoy that. And then Krishna through Super Soul will facilitate material energy and give us material intelligence and intuition to fulfill that.
Is that the same with clear intention? Like, a person can have clear intention for a material desire and it has nothing to do with spiritual goals. Likewise, there's clear intention for spiritual.
Well, I'll say yes, but I'll qualify that yes. So in the way we typically use the term clear intention, consciousness in the result, yes. But if we get more philosophical about it, true clear intention can only exist in pure goodness. Okay? Because clear means conscious. And if my intention is for some rajasic or tamasic goal, then by definition, it means my consciousness is not clear. My consciousness is not clear. My consciousness is filtered and muddled and controlled by the machine of the lower modes of material energy. So if we get more, and we don't, like in our courses, we don't usually get so nuanced, but true clear intention can only exist in pure sattva. Because when the consciousness is clear, it means I am not controlled by the ropes of the modes of nature. And it's just the soul choosing. And it means that the soul choosing for truly spiritual goals. And if my goals are influenced by or directed towards rajasic or tamasic stuff, then it means by definition, I'm pulled by the nose by the ropes of material energy. And so I'm not clear and conscious. I'm being a slave to the lower self.
So, this is resonating with my experience, because whenever I've experienced clear intention, like a healthy, sattvic, spiritual clear intention, it feels like it comes from the outside. It doesn't, it's like, it's just a vision that's revealed to me. And it's not something that I can go to a coaching session and say, I want to manifest clear intention. Like, it's not something that I can come up with on the spot because I want to. Like it's something that will come to me when Krishna wants to, or if he wants to reveal that vision to me and the details of that vision. That's, and so I've always had a problem with clear intention, because I used to think it's something that you can concoct, but in reality, I think it's something that comes to you from outside of your own, being.
Thanks for that.
And I think that's the same with all of our realizations, like all the little realizations we have on a spiritual journey. They're not like something you can go after and conquer and create. They're just all our realizations come to us in the right time from like an external, like things are revealed. And so I guess I'm connecting with the verse that about surrendering, because it seems like if at the essence we just surrender, then the intelligence, intuition, clear intention, realizations, they all like come flooding in at the right time. But our like job is essentially to surrender, to become available, to show up and be available, to be a servant of God, but not necessarily to like concoct and create our service. And like, anyway, I'm sharing.
I appreciate your personal and philosophical realizations based on experience. And for me, that's so, what you just shared so much sums up this verse and purport. And that our job is to surrender. And then we open up ourselves for that revelation. I'll use a different term than from external source. It's a revelation from within, and related to what Narayan shared. It's a revelation from within, and what Malini also expressed. Yeah, so it's like from me, it's the deepest part of me. And that's true, but it's not true, because the super soul is the heart of our heart. Sarvasya Chamridi Sanivi Sto. So it is from some source other than me, but it's not like external in a sense. It's from the soul of my soul. That's the super soul. So it's from the heart of our heart. That's the super soul giving us guidance, spiritual intelligence from the deepest recesses of our being. But we're not the super soul, and the super soul is the heart of our heart. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you all for your presence and association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.